Hello everyone, welcome to Mary's Little House. Welcome to Mary's Little House by Peanut too. He always wants to sit. He has a nice bed in there and everything, but he wants to sit on my sweaty old lap, and he's wanted to always be with me. He's a very faithful dog, Mary's little lamb dog. I'm so glad you came to visit us by virtually by way of YouTube. I'm so grateful to have you. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. The sky is just so deep blue, deep blue. There's not even the clouds those planes make. There's not even any of that up there. It's just all blue, all pure blue, like Mary's mantle, and it's sunny out and everything. One of the boys at Mass said, now I can get my bicycle out. The weather's been freezing, and tomorrow will be freezing again towards 0 degrees. But this is just a little respite. Everybody seems so happy to have the sunshine and the clear skies and the streets that are not icy, are dangerous. I'm so glad to have you here at Mary's Little House at Centerville. You see a lot of things in the background. Our last YouTube was on St. Agnes, which was the 21st of January. We celebrated, and we celebrated the beauty and the preciousness of virginity, as she was to the Roman Empire at that time, that didn't esteem virginity very well. So she could also be to our culture too, that is so confused about sexuality and everything. She loved her virginity. She loved Christ, for whom she wanted to keep herself for Him so much, that her virginity, so that she died rather than let herself be violated by those who had very impure intentions. So St. Agnes, that's why we still have her statue up. I love that statue. Eternal Father, we have a big statue, a painting of the Eternal Father in the front room, over the fireplace. A large one with a beautiful frame. This is a little one I have that I can move around. Oh, I brought out this little cup. I saved teacups. The beautiful teacups that I see at the thrift store that would be heading for the dumpster. And so this one here is one of my favorites. It's rimmed by little little cherries and a cherry right in the middle too. You could just see it in the middle of the cup. It's so tiny, so delicate. So I just wanted to show you that again. Oh, and this over here is a picture of Sister Pauline Marie Huard, Sister of Mary of the Presentation. And I called her the Sunflower of North Dakota. The sunflower. Up in North Dakota, they have lots of sunflowers. And she resonated with God, the light of God. The sunflower, as you know, follows the sun. In its course, it faces the sun straight out, face to face, in your face, and it follows it from morning to evening. It follows the sun. So, and she followed Jesus, and she followed I love the Eternal Father. That picture over there of the Eternal Father. And she followed him all the way to South America, was a missionary in South America, and was very close to our Lord, very ready to give herself. And ultimately God took her through breast cancer. She suffered a lot. She suffered patiently and courageously, and God took her up on her gift of herself. And she is very, very dear. I pray for her cause someday to be introduced to the church, for beatification and canonization. Sister Pauline Marie Huard, Sisters of Mary, the presentation. Her congregation, a religious congregation, United States Mother House, is right in North Dakota, where she was born and grew up. And Sister Pauline Marie Huard, Sister of Mary, the presentation, Sunflower of North Dakota. Oh, I'm so grateful to be with you. I just wanted to say, in my reflection today, I took a little excerpt from the writings of Elizabeth Leseur. Her cause for canonization is already being considered for sainthood. She was a housewife, a French housewife, whose husband fell away from the church and was unbelieving and very critical of the church, very anti-clerical. And she loved the church, and she had a great apostolic heart too, to share her Catholic faith with others. And her husband would have his free-thinking, anti-clerical friends over, and they would insult the church and ridicule the church and criticize the church. It would hurt her very much. And she offered her life for her husband, who was so critical of the church, such an enemy of the church. She suffered so much when they would criticize the body of Christ, the church. Anyway, she offered her life for him and loved him. She in the writing that I published for my reflection was inexpressibly dear. He was inexpressibly dear, and he was not sometimes very kind to her, to say the least. But she loved him all the same, and put up with his anti-clericalism, loved him, and served him, and was a good wife to him. When she died, she left the diary. The husband read the diary after her death, and he saw what suffering he caused her, and the suffering that she suffered was for him, for his conversion. He became a great priest, a Dominican, and he went all over the world to tell the world about his beloved Elizabeth, who suffered so much from him for his sake, for his conversion. The one thing I wanted to point out, and I know that you could look it up on Google and everything, Elizabeth Leseur, Leseur, about her life and things. But one of the things that really struck me in this piece of writing that I excerpted in my daily reflections was that she prayed to the Lord that she would do good, that she would to spread to please Him, to serve Him, and she in her words she said, even though I don't even see the results of my good, that's okay. Just let me just do good to please You, to serve You. And anyway, I said, oh, how beautiful. Because a lot of times I'm caught up when I'm doing my work of evangelization here on YouTube. I say I always want to look and see how many views were there, people who have viewed the YouTube, the video on YouTube on our channel. It's Mother of God Ministries channel. And I sometimes get discouraged because I see the views aren't as what I would expect and everything. But she was way beyond that discouragement. All she would do is be a good wife and be a good daughter of the church, and that's what she prayed for. She did it to please God, not herself. She did everything to please God. So I said, oh Lord, that convicts me that to not be so worried about the results, but to be faithful as she was in doing the Father's will and doing the service to the church and service to the people that God has entrusted to me to direct and help. and on their way to heaven. So I just so glad to be with you. So grateful to share this little time with you, this little visit at Mary's little house. And I do encourage you to, like the priest today talked about, that fairy tales are always once upon a time, and it's got the magic to it. And he said that once upon a time when God calls us, like he called in the gospel today, uh, Peter and Andrew, and then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and they left their boats and their nets, and James and John left their dad on the shore there and followed Jesus. Well, Jesus is calling us to have that once upon a time experience, a fairy tale of wonder and beauty and life. Because when we say yes to him and we follow him in our respective vocation, be it marriage or single in the world, our priest, our religious sister, our brother, it becomes a wonderland. And we don't see things as the world sees them anymore. We see them as God sees them, and we want to give ourselves rather than worry about ourselves, to give ourselves in service. And that just changes everything. We thought Jesus said that one commandment he left, to love one another as he has loved us. Well, that's magic and beauty, because and enchanting, because when we see it that way, our life that way, we just only eager to please God by pleasing others, by making them happy, making them, especially those who are hurt and left out, are most vulnerable. Even the child in the womb. We had March for Life last Wednesday, and I think it was Wednesday. Anyway, to defend them. No matter how cold it is up in Washington. I did a lot of those marches too, and it could really get cold up there. But to do it, even though we don't see maybe results, or we give into discouragement. But what Elizabeth taught me, or teaches us all, is it doesn't matter about the results. What matters is our fidelity and our obedience to God's will, and our readiness to lay down our lives in the service of others. And then we see it just transforms us. We don't have to worry about what we are to eat or drink or wear. Like Jesus said, we're way beyond that, because we know God is covering us. God is watching over us. All He's asking us to do is to do His will, is to give and His will is to be like His Son Jesus, who gave us that one commandment, that we love one another as He loves us. And greater love than this, He goes on to tell us, that greater love than this no man has than to lay down his life for his brothers and sisters. And that's where the fairy tale starts. That's where the enchantment and the magic starts. When we come to that point where nothing else matters but to please God, and pleasing Him in the service of others, even to laying down our lives for their happiness now on earth, for peace and justice here, and goodness, and for their salvation forever in heaven. God bless you. Bye bye.